Dr. Donut, what is the best medication for someone with HD that is very agitated all the time, which sometimes will cause outbursts?
Mm. Yeah, I think there's kind of a two-prong approach for medications for agitation, and the first thing that comes to mind is any type of mood stabilizer. So this is going to help reduce kind of the baseline agitation back down to a more sense of calm and relaxed state. I use a lot of Depakote or valproic acid, not just in Huntington's patients, but really kind of across the board for agitation. Um, the things to kind of watch out for is liver dysfunction. And if patients are in the process of family planning, it can be teratogenic for developing fetuses. So those are kind of the big concerns that I have when prescribing that medicine, but there's many others. Lithium, lamictal, carbamazepine are also all mood stabilizers. Depakote is just a lot easier to optimize, and we can load patients so we can get them on a pretty high dose pretty quickly, where the other mood stabilizers take more of a titration and can take a little bit of time. So that would be the first thing. During outbursts, or if patients aren't able to tolerate a mood stabilizer, benzodiazepines are also used for agitation and irritability. And so things like Ativan, lorazepam, or Klonopin, clonazepam is a little bit longer acting, can be very helpful for those symptoms. Um, Sometimes, typically in our older population, benzodiazepines can do the opposite. And so they can worsen agitation. They can make people be more disinhibited, more aggressive. And so that's why I consider it to be more of a second line agent and would go more so with a mood stabilizer. All that to say, if the agitation is related to something else, psychosis or depression, those things should be treated first and foremost. But uh, that's kind of my thought process in prescribing medicines for those symptoms.
Thank you. Lisa, this question, I'm going to change a little bit of the verbiage just because of Facebook.
Yes.
So do you find that individuals that are in the prodromal or early stage are more at risk to get into legal troubles? In our family, someone was just convicted of a sexual assault. It wasn't forced sexual assault, but more that he couldn't read the cues that the girl was putting out to not go any further. The court didn't even listen about HD, and they just did an automatic sexual assault and arrest. So the second part of this question would be, how can a family advocate for their family member through a court case like this?
Very good question. Unfortunately, we live in a day and age where we sort of assume people are guilty, guilty until proven innocent. I have had several Huntington's persons also go through something similar, where they made a very poor choice and they were charged with sexual assault, or had to go on the sexual assault list and sexual offender list and all of that stuff. So sometimes it can be really hard and just really depressing and heartbreaking. Just know that it's okay. You're doing the best you can, and you're going to help your loved one. And it was a bad choice, and we can work with them to try to help them make better choices. Now, so the first question was, do I find that prodromal or early stage people are more at risk to get in legal trouble? I don't think that's necessarily true. If someone is functionally able, we can all get ourselves in legal trouble, right? So obviously, as the disease progresses, and if someone is more homebound and they don't leave their house and they can't leave their house, obviously they're going to get in less trouble because they're not interacting with the outside world and the public. But I wouldn't say that's a general rule or finding that we see. Now, as far as the court not listening, I think that's really unfortunate. I think part of this to do is to advocate prior to something happening. You know, just like Katie and Katrina do with the LEAP program, and law enforcement is also talking to courts or attorneys or different things about Huntington's disease. Now, finding a family advocate in the court system, they do offer sort of, what do they call them? Like the advocates or the legal assistance counseling persons to represent. Now, those persons aren't necessarily going to understand Huntington's disease, but Help for HD and other organizations have fantastic resources that you can share with them. If you are part of an HD Center of Excellence, you can get a letter from your providers that talk about what HD is and what this person has been doing and what kind of treatment they've been involved in and their participation effort and those types of things to help the court and or the legal representative understand what's going on. I know here in California, we have something called Disability Rights California. So there's Disability Rights, Disability Alliance sort organizations. I'm sure every state probably has one. And I would contact them as far as helping through court cases. They can talk about what your loved one's rights are and what resources are specifically available in your state or in the state that the assault occurred, so that you can take care of, you know, that situation. And those people can also, disability rights, they can also help advocate for this person's rights and making sure that the court does everything, you know, the way they're supposed to do, so that they can rectify the situation and, you know, deliver whatever consequences have to be taken in the right way, in the appropriate legal way, if that makes sense. These situations, I will tell you, because I'm stumbling on my words, are really, really hard. There's no one right way. Anything you can do to be proactive is going to be the best way to try to prevent something like this from happening. So if you have an HD loved one who is wanting to date and wanting to find love, I think you should 100% encourage and support that. But we also need to set boundaries and parameters around that in the sense of, you know, maybe when they're meeting people online, that you also have access to see what's being talked about online so that you can make sure that there's not any inappropriate content being shared. Either way, because believe me, it comes from the other direction too. And if they are going to meet this person, you know, the other person in person, that you have, you know, a tracker on their phone and you know exactly where they are. It's also good for you to meet the person, whether it's you meet them via Zoom and video or you meet them via email, but they need to know that they have a loved one looking out for them. And you can also sort of vet this person and see how you feel about this other person and, you know, what their intentions are and things of that nature. And, you know, saying like, you need to go, your first couple dates need to be in public, you know, maybe a coffee shop date at first. If your HD loved one is very symptomatic and can't maybe drive themselves, if you Uber them there or you drive them and there and you know, lurk in the corner or you lurk in your car, you know, just things to keep them safe, and set those boundaries. And then as relationships develop, hopefully they'll be able to be open and honest with you about what they're feeling and what their intentions are. And if they are having intentions of like, I'm really attracted to this person and I want to have sexual relationships with them, talking to them about how you might go about that and what consent looks like. And, you know, if someone says these types of things, you need to stop and you need to, you know, call me or you need to let it go or, you know, talk to them about it later. So just setting up boundaries and kind of having conversations. And I know that can be difficult, especially if you know, it's coming from like a mom and a son, you know, the son might be embarrassed or the kid might be embarrassed, but, you know, the bottom line is having open communication, and it just comes from a place of love and just saying, you have Huntington's disease. That's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But if someone sees you on the streets, they might see that as something that they can take advantage of and take for granted. And we want to protect you at all costs. Me and Dr. Duffy have intense mama bear discussions with a lot of our families and a lot of our younger patients about these setting these boundaries. And, you know, have family members met this loved one, and where did you go on date, and does this loved one treat you respectfully, and do you drink when you go out on dates, and do you use contraceptives when you have sexual intercourse, and those types of things, just to, because we know that these conversations are hard, but at the same time these conversations are really, really important to set up safety standards, um, both for your HD loved one and anyone that they might come in contact with. So these situations are very hard, but when in doubt, reach out to your nearest Huntington social worker, and they can kind of help talk you through this specific situation.